Hello, and welcome back with another episode, Coffee with the Sheriff. My name is Danny H. Rogers, the Sheriff of Guilford County, North Carolina. Today, my guest is Chief Brian James with Greensboro Police Department. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Sheriff.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. And,
yes, sir.
It's always good to see you, always good to talk with you. One of the questions I have, and of course we could probably talk for hours, but you've been a chief now, what, 5 months?
Yeah, about 5 months.
About 5 months. So talk a little bit about that. How's it been here in the city of Greensboro and Guilford County?
Overall, it's a challenging time. 2020, I think, has challenged everybody. But we started off after I got sworn in on January 31st and had a number of community meetings, got a lot of great feedback from the people that we serve. Some of that was slowed up by the COVID restrictions and things like that. So we've been trying to work through that and still maintain those community connections. But then also, we've had an incident in law enforcement, which we've all had to work through. So we're currently just trying to navigate those waters and doing the best we can to maintain and build relationships with the community.
Good, good. Well, you started out right, really, and you're doing a great job. I believe going through the community and meeting people in different parts of the community gives them an opportunity to allow their voices to be heard, and even bring concerns and issues that you may not have even known or thought of, or myself. What do you think about that?
It does, because I tell people a lot of times in law enforcement now, with all the technology, we look at stats as far as where crimes are occurring and who's doing the crime. But there's a lot of things out here in the community that you don't know because you're not talking to people. So you got to talk to the people. You can't find everything in a stat sheet. And I'll tell you, when we were going out talking to people, we learned a lot of things that we just weren't aware of, and things that we need to do a better job at.
Right. So with that being said, I like the idea. I'm big on community policing. I'm from the old school. Right. I didn't have the computers in the cars. I didn't have the cell phone. We had the radio, and we would dispatch the calls. You remember those days as well. And then we got a chance to get outside the vehicle and actually walked the community, the blocks, whether it was 2 block long or the convenience stores, and we got to learn a lot of people and find out a lot of things that went on. And I think now with things that are going on globally, and especially within the United States, community policing is going to be the key, one of the pieces of the puzzles that's going to help bring some things together.
Yeah, I think it is, because you can't substitute anything for knowing the people that you serve. And sometimes in law enforcement, you get so caught up in trying to find the bad guys or who's doing crime, but you need to know the good people that live in that community that you're serving. Because if you know those people and they know you, then they're going to support you, right, and they're going to support your efforts to keep them safe. And we gotta figure out, I think, just in not just in Greensboro, but law enforcement in general, we got to figure out how to get back outside those cars, because I think community policing is the key to everything, especially right now.
I agree. I believe it will help us out a lot. We are actually working on an citizens advisory board for Guilford County as a whole. And the reason being, we've seen, and I've been trying to put the pieces together for the last 18 months. So now we're about to have it together where we can actually have our first meeting with community stakeholders. And when I say community stakeholders, people think, oh, the big business people. No, not necessarily. Right. I need the people that are in the communities that are dealing with life challenges and issues, and they know to go to certain people and talk with them, and those people can come to the table and talk with us and help us try to mend, not put a Band-Aid on it, but help develop relationships where it's positive. So hopefully we can continue to work together like we've been doing, and work together with something like that. What do y'all have going on?
So we do have what we call a police community review board, and that is centered around complaints. So if somebody files a complaint on a police officer and they're not satisfied with the result of the complaint, they can actually appeal that complaint to the police community review board. and if the community review board disagrees with our disposition, then they can actually make a recommendation to me. So we work very closely with them. They also look at different data around complaints and around various topics in law enforcement. So we try to use the Police Community Review Board really as a bridge to the community to try to build more trust. Also, one thing that I'm looking at is in these first few months is trying to form a faith advisory board.
Okay.
So we want to actually partner with some of the clergy in the community.
Correct.
Because we think that sometimes, they allow us to have conversations with people who may be a little skeptical about talking to law enforcement.
Right.
So we're trying to build as many relationships as we can to get to places that we're not normally able to get to.
Right.
And I think that's important because I think that that over the years, not to criticize any predecessors, but we've missed some things.
Right.
And so we're trying to, as we go on, we're trying to get better and be a better police department.
That's good. That's good. We know that the movement is going on. Black Lives Matter. And I've had many people ask me, so what is your take on Black Lives Matter? I said, well, what do you think? I mean, I am a black man.
Right.
Black lives matters to me. I said, but don't misunderstand me. All lives matter. But let me share with you my personal view as Black Lives Matter. I've lived the fact of dealing with coming up as a teenager or a young adult. Well, police officers I felt was injustice about saying certain things to me,
right,
or doing different things. What about the fact of equal justice? Yes, I want equal justice. I've been a law enforcement officer in court and have seen a white male receive a lesser punishment for the same charge that an African American have, and receive a harsher charge.
Right.
So yes, these things does matter. But as I tell people, don't get caught up in the fact about me being a black man. Get caught up in the fact that I want to make sure I do what's right for all people. Right. I said, because December the 3rd, I was elected, I was voted in, I was sworn in to serve all people. So all lives matter. And I say those things on talk with people in the public, because what happens, people they'll take your words and they'll twist it. And they have me all hemmed up. I'm like, but that's not what I said. So I always try to make sure I'm always consistent about what I say and what I do. And I'm sure, even in your position, you'll find yourself with people will come and they'll twist things. But that's the part about being a good leader, is being able to listen, and listen to them. And because sometimes people just, I guess I would say, they get to a point where, you know what, they can't hear you. They don't hear you. So with your citizen review board that you all have, and our citizen advisory committee that we're putting together, would be a piece of the pie that where the voices are being heard. Right. And we get people from all parts of the community, all races. Yeah,
and that's the key, because the thing is, and I tell you, just speaking on Black Lives Matter, I do agree that Black Lives Matter,
right,
and I agree with the movement. And the reason why I know why people are saying it, because a lot of people feel like Black lives don't matter to some people. So I completely get it. But as a chief of police and you as a sheriff, we got to serve all the people in the community.
That's right.
And we have to keep that focus. But I know right now, a lot of people are looking at law enforcement. But like you mentioned, the criminal justice system, where you see people that go to court and may not get equal sentencing and things like that, that can be an issue. The other part is, if you look at poverty overall. If we get in trouble, if you or I get in trouble, and you got the money to hire a dedicated attorney, and then maybe I have to get a public defender. I mean, not to criticize, either one, but
it's a difference.
There could be a difference. Absolutely,
right.
There absolutely could be a difference.
Yes.
If you got a lawyer that's, that you're paying, that's fighting for you, and isn't trying to juggle, 100 other cases. So there's a lot of things in all of these systems, and not just in the criminal justice system. There's a lot of systems with the healthcare and the education and things like that cause all these things to break down, which cause my people and your people to get these calls.
That's right.
And have to come out.
That's right.
And so it's a whole lot of things that we as a society need to look at to make sure everybody is treated equally and fairly.
Right. Yeah. You know, education, here at the sheriff's office, I have a open dialogue. Black talk, white talk. And when I first started, people looking like, what is he talking? What is he doing? No. I'm learning how to understand and how to communicate a little bit better than what I did before I came in here. You're learning. And it's amazing, our stories, regardless of what race we are, many of our stories are the same. Isn't that something?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Something. Poverty, lack of education, single households, you know, mental health,
right.
You know, drug addictions. I mean, domestic issues. I mean, it just does not discriminate. And it's interesting how mankind discriminate. Isn't that amazing? You know? So, education-wise, we're looking at making sure that everybody here, from our sworn to our office staff, is trained diversity and cultural diversity. You know?
Yeah, we're looking at so right now we're looking at some racial equality training for the entire department, sworn and civilian
Yes,
staff.
sir.
And I'm gonna tell you, as far as, you know, the talks, we got to have honest conversation now. This is we are not in a time where you can beat around the bush about stuff. We got to tell people exactly what's on our minds, and I think people actually want to hear it. But people are so many years, like a lot of things have been unspoken and unsaid, and people are shy about telling the story.
Don't say this.
Right.
Yeah, you know.
And that's part of the reason I think why we're having some of the issues we're having now. We should have had these conversations, you know, 20, 30 years ago, maybe even before that.
Yeah.
But we're at a point now where times are too critical, and we really do have to say what's on our minds, because if we don't, we're just not going to make any progress.
No, what make any progress? You know, Chief, as we get ready to end up and close our segment, I've always enjoyed talking with you.
Same here.
We both have detention background. We both started here with the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. And look what God has brought us through and put us in. There's a reason for it. I tell my team, we will make sure that we will not violate anybody's constitutional right. We'll always be respectful, and we'll always make sure we're professional.
Right.
And when we do those three things there, and there's more things that we can do, but those are some of the top three that would get you a long way as an organization or as an officer, because when you're able to get out there and talk to the people, they hear you. They want to know, do you hear them?
Right.
You know.
Right.
So, give you the last.
Well, I'll just say this. I appreciate you having me on your show today, Coffee with the Sheriff, and I just want to say I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate the partnership that we have, and I think that as long as we are treating people, everybody, with dignity and respect, and doing everything that we can do to keep the citizens that we serve safe, I think we're headed in the right direction. And I think we just have to keep working and knowing that we got to have the relationship with the community. If we don't have that relationship with the community, we don't have anything.
We don't have anything. Yeah. Chief, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
And this concludes our segment with Coffee with the Sheriff. Thank you. Have a great day.